Hello, everyone, and welcome to this very first episode of Culture Reforged. Before we begin this episode, I would like to take a moment and invite you all in prayer. Father, I come to you in Jesus' name. Lord, I pray over this channel. Lord, I ask that you would guide this channel, Father. Guide us in all of our discussions, our videos, and everything that we say, Lord, and ask that you would help us to do what you have called this channel to do. And we ask you for this in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for sticking with me. I know it's a little bit unusual to start a YouTube channel with prayer, but I thought it was a good idea since this is our first episode to kind of do that. So whether or not you're a Christian, I truly appreciate you for sticking around. Let's go ahead and get this party started. Welcome, everyone, as I was saying before, to this new show we are calling Culture Reforged. Seeing this as our first episode, it's probably worth taking a moment to introduce not only myself, but also what we plan to do here on this channel. So let me start with the first one. My name is Nathan Black, and if you couldn't tell already, I am a Christian. In addition to that, I'm also a computer science grad based out of Southwest Florida. I got my degree, or my associate's degree, in computer programming and analysis. In normal talk, that just means that I studied software engineering and coding in college. Now, I could have continued my education and gone a little bit further and gotten like a bachelor's or something like that, but I decided to go ahead and get a job and go into the workforce instead of staying in school for a number of years that it would have taken to do that, which I was really loath to do. Over the past few years, while I have had a couple of jobs in technology, most of the jobs that I have really haven't been related to coding or software engineering or anything like that, for the most part. In fact, my most recent job was actually teaching people how to play instruments and had nothing to do at all with coding or computers. It was really rewarding, though, and fun, and it helped me learn to explain complicated subjects in as simple of terms as possible, a skill that I hope to use here. Now, there are two other things that you should probably know about me and my personality, because it'll really be helpful to understand my worldview and what exactly to expect from this channel. The first one is that I am a nerd. I know that's probably it feels like a stereotype, the computer guy being a nerd and with the glasses and all that stuff, but it's true. I really am a nerd. I also really love learning new things, and I kind of describe myself as like a knowledge hoarder, for lack of a better word. I have a bunch of knowledge just floating around inside of my head that I don't really need, but I keep it there anyway, because who knows, I might need it. And funnily enough, I actually do sometimes need it, which is really super helpful. The other thing that you should know about me moving forward is my politics. This is because we're probably going to be talking about political issues once in a while, and I feel like it's always helpful to have a frame of reference for what my views on politics actually are, because, well, then the views that I say, the things that I say will make a lot more sense that way. So my political views are probably best described as center-right. So I'm definitely not left-leaning, but I'm not exactly a hard right-leaning person either. And a lot of that has to do with, well, I'm kind of a zillennial, so that is kind of like a trend here. But also because, truthfully, my politics more so are not focused on left or right, but rather they're focused on God. As far as politics are concerned, a lot of times we have left and right, and a lot of people view them as inherently good things. I don't really believe that. I believe that morally good is not grounded in ideology, but it's grounded in God. So as long as political ideologies continue to be run by people and not God, sometimes they're going to get things right, and sometimes they're going to get things wrong. It's just how human nature is. Now, that being said, I am by no means politically neutral, and I'm definitely not that, oh, I'm not going to pick a side guy. I definitely do have a side, and like I said, I am probably more center-right. Not right, but center-right. And the reasons for that are probably beyond the scope of this video. But suffice it to say, a lot of times, even though I primarily am committed to being a Christian, not left or right, I do find myself these days landing more on the right side of the political spectrum than the left side of the political spectrum. More often than not, I'm going to end up on the right. That being said, I'm not really committed to the right for the right's own sake. I just believe that more often than not, the right is kind of where I'm going to land. Because again, I'm philosophically committed to Christianity and to God, not left or right labels. All of this to say, as I continue to make videos on this channel, and it continues to do what it does, I am almost certainly at various times going to say things that tick off the left, but also I'm going to say things that tick off the right as well. It's just kind of how it is. I'm not trying to be mean or contrarian. It's just I am philosophically, again, committed to truth for its own sake and not political labels. And if the truth leads me to the left, or if it leads to me the right, then I'm going to follow that and not what people in my own ideology say. Now, enough about me. All this talk about the channel and what I'm going to be doing and videos that I'm going to make kind of leads into another question. What exactly is this channel intended to do? What kind of content am I intending to create? I'm going to spend the majority of the rest of today's episode on that question. I think that every time that you start a new endeavor, it's always a good idea to have a plan for what's to come. It not only helps me as a creator create a coherent YouTube channel, but also you as a viewer. It helps you understand what this channel is actually about. So to that end, let me take a few moments and share with you my vision of what I see this channel becoming in the future. Over the past several years, I've noticed something about our culture. It's becoming increasingly toxic. And I'm not the only one to notice this. Lots and lots of people are noticing it. Every day, there's someone saying, "Oh, isn't our world just toxic?" Now, unfortunately, it's kind of starting to feed into a vicious cycle, because the people who are saying, "Oh, isn't our world becoming toxic?" are themselves becoming more and more toxic. At some point, it's almost like I'm just like, yeah, I get it. The world is toxic. The world is becoming a mess. Our culture is just really not being where it should be. But the very act of just saying our culture is toxic is really only the first part of the fight. If we stop there, nothing is going to really happen. Simply saying how terrible things are doesn't really help anyone. It's like being on a ship and saying, well, isn't it sad our ship is taking all of this water, without, like turning on the water pumps, or at least finding life vests or lifeboats and doing something about the problem instead of just watching it happen. Instead, all too often, we just sit there and go, oh no, the ship is sinking, how sad. How sad? How about we do something about it instead? That's what I plan on this channel being. I want to do something about it. I'm so tired of our culture being a mess. I don't know about you, but I, for one, would like it to stop being a mess and to start being healthy. Not stop being healthy. I would like it to start being healthy again. Now, in order for it to actually be healthy again, we can't really just sit around hoping that, oh no, maybe one day it'll be healthy again. But we ourselves actually have to take action. But not just any action. We need to take specific, useful, productive action. To go back to our boat analogy from before, going into the kitchen and fixing popcorn is certainly an action you can take while you're on a sinking boat. But it won't really help you fix the problem. If you actually want things to get better, you have to take action that actually helps the situation, not just whatever happens to come to your mind. To that end, on this channel, we are going to attempt to take effective action that actually helps the problem and not just whatever comes to our mind. I see effective action on this channel taking the form of 3 very specific things. Number 1, we need to diagnose the problem. But Nathan, you say, isn't that the same thing as criticizing? What's the difference between diagnosing and saying, isn't all this stuff just toxic? Aren't those two the same thing? Well, my answer to that at least, is no. There's a huge difference between saying, hey, isn't this ship is sinking? Isn't it wild this ship is sinking? And saying, the ship is sinking because there's a massive hole in the side of the ship. The first one tells you that something is wrong. The second one tells you why it's wrong, and more importantly, what one might do, possibly, to actually fix it. And that distinction matters. If the ship is sinking, but you don't know why, you can't actually take effective action to stop it from sinking. But if you know why it's sinking, because, there's a massive hole in the side of the boat, then you can actually take action that actually fixes the problem and keeps it from getting worse. Now, what does that mean for this channel? Well, it means that we're going to be doing a level of diagnosing. But diagnosing, not just this is a mess kind of stuff. And to do proper diagnosing, we're going to have to take a long, hard look at our culture and see not just what is wrong and what went wrong, but also try and figure out how it went wrong. That means a good portion of this channel is going to be dedicated to looking at topics like philosophy, history, politics, and art, and even also theology. Even theology is important. If we have any real hope of understanding what exactly went wrong with our culture in the first place, we're going to have to take a really good look at these topics because they're all deeply connected to our culture. You can't really talk about our culture without talking about those things in some way or another. So that's the first step. But after we do that, it's kind of like, well, then what? So that leads us into step 2. Step 2, fix the problem. This sounds obvious, but let me explain. As I've already said before in this video, it's not really enough to know that there is a problem. If you stand on the deck of the ship and never attempt to fix the hole, you will keep sinking no matter how much you know that the reason you're sinking is the hole. Now, as a practical matter, what does that mean for this channel? Well, on this channel, we will be attempting to not only understand the problems, but also to fix the problems as well. This means making good arguments for good positions, but also proposing strategies that will help us to do better in areas where we are currently whiffing it. In other words, we're not just going to be saying, well, there is your problem, but we're going to be actually trying to propose a solution as well, at least as often as you can. Sometimes it's difficult to propose a solution, especially one that works for everyone, or sometimes it's even not only difficult, but impossible. And you certainly don't always know what exactly will work. So, because of that, I'm not saying that every video is always going to necessarily going to have a solution in it, but as often as we can, we will try to create productive solutions and offer them instead of just amplifying the problem. Now, you don't always have to agree with that solution. In fact, if you don't agree, please tell us in the comments. That way, maybe we can, make the solution better. Because sometimes we're just going to get a solution wrong. But at least we are always going to try to put an effort into making one and offering a solution, at least whenever we can. Now, that leads into the third step, which is step 3, reforge something better. This channel is called Culture Reforged, and it is for good reason. The word reforged means not to make something new out of whole cloth. It means actually rescuing the old thing and the broken thing and fixing the things that are broken and giving it new life so it can do something new that it could never do before. There's a lot of cynicism going around in the world right now. There's a lot of people saying that our culture is doomed and completely hopeless, and that it's not even worth saving anymore, that we should just throw it out and start over. I disagree. I think that it only feels hopeless to a lot of people because way too many people are standing around on the deck when they should be helping bail out the water. But it's really not true. Our culture can be saved. It can be fixed, but we have to work for it. And to do that, we have to proactively make things that are better than the old, not just get rid of the bad things. In the culture wars our society is currently having, People often don't realize that it's not enough just to tear something bad down. To be truly effective, you actually have to offer something new in its place. Otherwise, people will just keep going back to the old bad thing, or they'll be left feeling hopeless. They'll feel like they have nothing left. Instead, if you really want to be effective, you need to put something new instead. So, to that end, we here at this channel are going to be planning on building new, better things that are better than the old. We're going to keep the old, right? We're not going to throw it out completely, but we're going to be turning old things into new, better things. We hope to just not keep the old, but to refine it, to reforge it, to make it the best version of itself that it can be. Now, that includes our solutions to the problem as well, by the way. Like I said, we're not always going to be perfect. You may have noticed by now that I plan to talk about a whole host of subjects, whole broad set of subjects that range from things from philosophy to other things. And many of them I have actually never really studied in college, which might leave you wondering, do I really have the credentials to actually be talking about this? The answer, of course, is no. In some respects, you're absolutely right. I am very much not an academic professor, a philosopher, a theologian, a historian, an artist, or even a political scientist. At my core, I'm really just a tech nerd from Florida. However, if you think that because I'm not an expert in these things that I have no right to talk about them, then I think you actually kind of missed the point, or missed my point rather. The point is not here for me to sit here talking to you and teaching you all these things that I know. The whole point is actually really just to start a discussion. It's not really to start a discussion, it's to start a productive discussion. If the only people that could ever talk about theology, philosophy, history, and things like that are academically trained professionals, then literally only a very, very, very small group of people will actually ever be able to talk about those things. And yet, those things are deeply connected to the culture that we all share. They're super, super important to our everyday lives. And they're not only important, they're important in invisible ways too. They're too important to not talk about and be left unsaid. If we leave them unsaid, then we can't really talk about culture the way that it deserves to be talked about. Now, because I'm not academically trained, I'm going to get things wrong sometimes. Sometimes I'm going to get them very wrong. And that's okay. Well, it's not okay to get things wrong. What I mean is it's okay to not be perfect. Because this isn't meant to be perfect. Especially not in any academically rigorous sense. It's meant to be a discussion in hopes that we can help all of us to become better versions of ourselves. And that includes me. Which is why I'm saying, if you ever don't agree with a solution or a take that I have, feel free to tell me in the comments, because I can't really improve if you don't tell me what is wrong. Now, if all of this sounds good, then great. I'm really glad that you're on board. Now, I want to close out this video by pointing out a really difficult truth. That difficult truth is that no matter how hard I try, I can't really do this alone. No one can. I'm just one voice in a million voices, and I can't fight the massive cynicism that has grown up in the world all by myself, because the reality is they have more voices and they have larger megaphones. That means in order to be really productive, if I'm really going to do this, and I'm going to have these conversations like this about our culture, then I really need help. All right? I'm going to need a lot of help, actually. And especially, I'm going to need you, the viewer. I'm going to need your help. Now, if that's you, if you want to help, then I'm going to ask you to do me a huge favor. And I know you've been asked to do it many, many times, all by tons and tons of other creators all across YouTube, because every YouTuber out there, they really want the same thing. But I'm going to ask you to do it anyway, because I really can't do this without you. What am I going to ask? Well, I think you already know it. I, of course, am going to ask you to subscribe to this channel. But I'm also actually going to ask you to do more than just that. I'm going to ask you to fight for this culture and join me on this fight for our culture. I know that's a big ask, but if you believe that our culture can be rescued from the awful path that it is currently going on, then we need to fight for it. And not just me, I'm going to have to fight for it, but you're going to have to fight for it as well. And I'm asking you to fight for it with me. For right now, fighting for it with me means subscribing. Subscribe to this channel so that you can join in these discussions and help make the world a better place. That's really all I'm asking right now, and it doesn't cost anything other than your time. And it truly does help me. It helps make sure that YouTube gets this video and others like it to other people just like yourself. People who are tired of the shallow, toxic culture our world is slowly becoming. And it helps them fight against toxicity as well. But your subscription also does something else too. It doesn't just tell YouTube that you're with me, it also tells me that you're with me. Every time that you subscribe, every subscriber who joins this channel encourages me to keep going, to keep fighting, to keep making content that doesn't just diagnose the problem, but also stops the bleeding, or attempts to stop the bleeding. So, I'm asking you, please help me fight for our culture. And together, if we work hard, we might be able to not only understand our culture, but reforge it.